Well, hello, all of you beautiful people. It's been a while. Welcome back to Girl What? This is Mariah.
And I'm Sarah, and we are so grateful for your patience with us these last several weeks. We're gonna get into it, but it's been a bit it's been a lot.
Yeah. So, as you guys have probably noticed, we haven't been uploading the past, I don't know, probably month and a half, for very good reason for both of us. Life has been happening very much so for the both of us lately. And so we're just going to do a quick little deep dive into what's been going on personally for each of us and how that's been affecting the upload schedule and how we're going to proceed from there. So, Sarah, would you like to start? Would you like me to start? How do you want to do this?
yeah, I think we can just kind of jump in with both of us. I had said to Mariah, like, so we had been talking each week. It seemed like, if I wasn't flared or sick, she was flared up or sick. And literally, she had reached out just a few days ago, and I literally said to you, I was like, I feel like it's time for us to be honest with the audience we have. It might not be a crazy huge audience, or maybe it is. I don't really know. I don't watch the numbers, but we owe it to y'all to be honest about like kind of what we go through, and also too because like this is a platform where I think it's cool to be able to come here and know that you're not alone if you're struggling through anything. Mariah and I have opened up previously about like Mariah, your struggles with mental health, some of my own. And I just kind of felt like this would be a good episode for us to just kind of open up about what we've been going through because, yeah, life has been lifing lately, man. Yeah, but Mariah, I don't know. Why don't we start with you kind of sharing your diagnoses that you deal with? Because, like, literally, you're the only person I know that has it. And so, like, when you had first talked about having it, I remember being like, oh my God, like, I didn't realize young people can get that. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like, you only ever hear the term with, an older generation. And so, I feel like you've opened my eyes a lot to kind of what it looks like. But, yeah, take the floor.
Yeah, so I also don't know anybody, at least my age, with the diagnosis that I have. I'm actually, it's like a dual diagnosis, and it's a lot to do with my gene pool. So my first one that I've known about for a while, because I've been struggling with it for multiple years, like this started back when I was in like late middle, early high school at least, is arthritis. So I have arthritis pretty much everywhere in my body. The worst being probably my knees, my lower back, and my neck. But it does affect pretty much all the joints in my body. And that just comes from family history. Like my mom has arthritis. I'm pretty sure. I think my dad did. I don't know. He didn't really go into his medical history, but
With the way
and
your
then
dad told me,
something.
I feel like your dad had arthritis.
Yeah. I feel like my dad was just a catch-all for like pretty much anything that you can get. So,
Yeah.
yeah. And so I have been struggling with that for what, like 15 years now. And that actually has kind of taken a back seat to this new problem. Within the past, I actually started noticing this right after I got foot surgery done last year, January. So January of 2024. I had foot surgery done because I had what's called Morton's neuroma. It's basically where like one of my nerves was just like entrapped, and so they had to release it. So that was painful. But while I was recuperating and recovering, I obviously couldn't walk, and so I was chair bound or like couch bound or bed bound. And I noticed that specifically my hips really started hurting and aching. And there really wasn't anything I could do that would fix it. And so I'm like, okay, maybe this is just a fluke. Maybe this is just because I'm spending so much time in bed, not up and moving. But as I recovered and I started moving around more and I started getting back into my daily routine, that pain didn't go away. And it started to move into other areas of my body as well. It didn't move from my hips. No, it just kind of started to spread into more of my body. And eventually it's kind of just gone everywhere. And I've seen multiple doctors about it, all of which they've explored the whole arthritis thing. They've explored, well, mainly their thing was arthritis, different kinds of arthritis. They did blood tests. They've done X-rays, MRIs, and the doctor that I'm at right now, she was just kind of a little bit stumped as to what was going on because all of this pain, because the pain, it went from being like joint pain, like arthritis is, to kind of like muscle pain
Oh my
everywhere.
gosh.
And then the pain went into my hands. And for those of you who don't know, I work as a barista at Caribou Coffee, and I've worked there for 8 years, and so I do multiple repetitive movements with my hands for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. So it's it's hard for me not to mess up my hands,
Yeah.
essentially,
That's
with what
gotta
I
be
have
like
going on.
excruciating too with the pain that you're dealing with and then literally like
Yeah.
having to use your hands all the time.
Yeah, and the pain gets worse at night and in the morning, and I work right away in the morning, so it's definitely hard when I start out. But went to a doctor for the hand pain specifically because that seemed to be the thing that was kind of taking over and just like the most excruciating part of it. Like, I need to get this figured out, otherwise I can't feasibly continue to work the way I am. I can't live a happy life, a content life, because I'm just going to be focusing on this pain. So I went to a doctor for it, and initially it was just in my right hand. A lot of what I'm going to be talking about is just pain spreading to different things. So if you can follow, that's fine. If you can't, I get it. I can barely follow. It started in my right hand, which is my dominant hand. I am right-handed. Went to a doctor. I went to an orthopedist, and they were like, "Oh yeah, it's probably carpal tunnel." So I'm like, "Okay, that would make sense because I do all this repetitive movement." And so I got a cortisone shot, which I've had in the past before, but so I got a cortisone shot basically right here. And before that, he was like, "Oh, well, try and take like Tylenol and rest it and use braces. If that doesn't work, come back in. I'll give you a cortisone shot." So that's what we did. Obviously, the braces and the pain meds didn't work. He came in, I got the shot. He's like, "Okay, this should work." It didn't work at all. And so I just said, "Screw it," because I didn't need another medical bill at the time.
Yeah.
So I just decided to live with it. But then it started going into my left hand. And it's not like fully throughout my left hand. There are certain parts on both of my hands that are the problem spots. On my right hand, now, it's my thumb, essentially like right up and down here. It sometimes goes into my first and second fingers. And then there's a little bone slash joint, like I don't know what it is, right here. Super, super painful just to the touch. I can't clench my hand super hard. If I do, it hurts. And then in my left hand, it's basically just the ulnar side of my wrist. That, honestly, good news. This has gotten better, knock on wood. But up until even like a week ago, it got so bad to where I could not. I can turn my wrist like this. With this hand, this is fine. I can do whatever. I could not turn my wrist any more than this without severe pain and like a popping and snapping sensation.
Oh my gosh.
So if I would turn my wrist back, or if I would like do this with my wrist and I would turn
Yeah.
it back, you would hear a very like almost like a rubber band snap, and it would send shooting pain like all throughout my arm and my
Oh
hand. So I had no clue what was going on there. So I
yeah.
finally was like, you know what, screw it. If I have to have another medical bill, I will.
Yeah.
So I went in to a different orthopedist and explained to him what was going on. He didn't have a full explanation for me, but he did give me another cortisone shot. And I went to him for both of my hands, actually. He gave me a cortisone shot, basically right here for my wrist pain, or right here for my wrist pain. And then the thumb of my right hand was the thing that was bothering me the most. He gave me a shot, I think like right here for that. The thumb didn't necessarily work. I'm still kind of dealing with that. But thankfully, the wrist shot kind of did.
Good.
So I'm virtually pain free in this wrist. So that's pretty much one of the only parts of my body that is pain free at this point. But hey, little victories. But the overarching thing that I've been dealing with, which is, again, what I have not heard anybody of my age or in my generation have. I'm sure there are plenty out there. I just don't know anybody. I went to my doctor. She's phenomenal. She's amazing. She's one of the only doctors I've had in my life that actually listens to you and listens to your worries and treats you as a person and doesn't treat you as just like another case, like, okay, blah, 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 get in, get out, give me the money. She's awesome. Bailey, shout out to you. You're a rock star. She finally came up with the diagnosis, I guess. I haven't been technically diagnosed, but she thinks that this is the most probable possibility of what could be going on with me. She said, hey, this looks like it could be presenting as fibromyalgia, which is just basically widespread pain throughout the body, which, ding, 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 that's what I have. And so essentially there's no cure. It just has to be managed with different meds, which is what we're trying to explore. Like I've been taking different just like over the counter meds like Tylenol, naproxen. I take that every day, 3 times a day. I take like 2 Tylenol 3 times a day, and then 1 to 2 naproxen 3 times a day as well for my pain management. That seems to kind of work. It doesn't fully get rid of any of the pain, but at least makes it more manageable. And then I also take, because along with my pain struggles, I also have, I struggle with my mental health. And so I have been taking what's called duloxetine. I can't remember the over-the-counter name or whatever for it, but my doctor introduced it to me, and basically it works as a 2-in-1. So it works for my anxiety, but it also works for fibromyalgia, which
Oh,
is just
wow.
wild.
Yeah.
So she did prescribe that for me. I did start taking it. I haven't really noticed a big, huge change in any of the pain with the fibromyalgia, but it has been helping with, my mental health, which is good. And honestly, it's kind of just like a touch and go at this point. Like we just have to see where things go, just figure it out. Figure it out as we go. Like I don't have full pain relief. I get really bad flare-ups, which is one of the reasons why we've had to reschedule the podcast so much and cancel like our recording sessions. Because my flare-ups are so bad
Walk
that
me through what that looks like. Like, does it seem like there's any rhyme or reason, like, to it happening? Because, like, and we'll get into mine later, but, like, mine normally, like, a lot of times it's self-induced, where I go too hard and then my body goes into a full flare. Walk me through what a flare looks like for you.
yeah, so there are, I would say, 3 main things that trigger flare-ups for me. One is basically just overdoing it, like you said. Overuse, overworking my body. So if I want to go out on the weekend and just spend a weekend, like go to the mall with my husband and like walk around and stuff, I know that the next day I'll have to pay for it. My body will probably hurt a lot more than it usually does. Then there's weather, which happens with a lot of people with arthritis. Changes in the barometric pressure in the air really affect and mess with your joints. So that's a big one. And then another one, which the joys of being a woman, my period. I've noticed that the week leading up to Shark Week
You go
is,
into a flare before your cycle?
yep,
Shut
so
the front door. Oh
yeah,
my
so
gosh.
I'm essentially Teresa Caputo. I'm the Long Island medium. I can tell the future on when I'm going to
Girlfriend.
be getting my
Like
period.
literally nobody can relate to me on that. Yeah, like with chronic Lyme, literally I've found that some of my flares are triggered by like the shift in your body's hormones. And yeah, I literally like right before my cycle get into a flare. That is crazy.
Yeah, yep. So like around a week to a week and a half before I start my cycle, I will get, excuse me, I'm also sick, which that also kind of affects it, but not really. But yeah, week to a week and a half before my cycle, I'll get really bad flare ups. So I'll just get like really, really intense pain in the main problem areas of my body, which right now are my hands, which I, like I said, it gets really bad at night and in the morning. So around like 8 to 9 p.m., my hands will start to get to where like it almost feels like they're not turning to stone. That sounds really dramatic, but like I can't
No, that's
like
an interesting visual though. Like that to me
yeah.
that gives me a little bit of an idea because like it sounds whatever, it sounds dramatic, but like also that paints a picture in my head of like, oh my god, I could totally imagine what that feels like. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so it's basically like they just become like super stiff. Like I can still move them, but the more I move them, the more it hurts. So especially
Okay.
doing like a bear claw situation like this, it just really, really hurts. I can barely do any sort of movement just like with my arm in general without something in my hand hurting. And then it also gets really bad up into my like biceps and my neck specifically. I can barely turn my neck without excruciating pain. Anything involving my arms, like trying to like take a shirt off or put a shirt on, is so incredibly hard. Taking a shower at because I take a shower at night. Night shower girlies, I feel you. Like I yeah, it's the only time to take a shower,
I get
in my
it.
opinion. So when I take a shower at night, especially during a flare up, it's probably one of my least favorite things now at this point. Showers used to be like so like relaxing and nice and just peaceful for me. But now if I'm in a flare up specifically, it's the thing I dread the most because there's a lot of body movement and even like the heat cuz I take really hot showers. Even the heat of the water, it doesn't help at all. It doesn't do anything like you think it would. And then just drying myself off with a towel. Like there have been so many times where I will, in a flare up, be in the shower crying just because it hurts so. I don't know why I'm crying.
I legitimately was like just about to say like I want to put this out there because I could feel it coming on myself, like the tears coming. But um, fair warning in advance to anybody listening or watching this episode. I had a feeling tears were gonna get shed because like literally anybody out there that's chronically ill, I feel like you can resonate with how hard it is. But it is so hard to not only go through it but to talk about it and to like express and be honest about how it makes you feel is super hard. To know somebody you love is going through it too is really hard. And that just makes me so sad for you. It's because I get it.
Yeah, so in the worst part of my flare ups, I like really suck at talking and crying. So if I sound really weird, sorry in advance to everybody. Yeah, in the worst part of my flare ups, like I'll just there's nothing else that I can do but just cry, like break down and cry. So, and there have been many, many points like that over the past, even just like month. A lot of them happen at night, which I mean, night is when the depression gets worse for a lot of people and just when everything gets worse for a lot of people. So it makes sense. But
Chronically ill people, though, I swear to God, that's like that's one area that nobody warned me about was like how bad it can be on your mental health. Like so bad because you like it's an everyday thing of thinking like I wish my body was normal. I wish this didn't hurt. I just want it to go away. I just want to be like so and so. I just want it to be a normal body. And you feel like you can't escape it ever. Like I literally mental health that aspect of it was something that I was so not prepared for when it happened. Because like you said, it gets worse then too. When the pain gets worse, mental health gets worse too. It seems like it literally goes hand in hand. Where like these underlying issues all of a sudden become so much more prevalent because of how much pain you're in.
yeah, exactly. So having to struggle with all of that just all at once is it's a lot, and a lot of people don't realize, people who are lucky enough to not have problems like these, they don't understand. I mean, you can't necessarily fault them for because they just don't get what you're going through. They can't even like imagine. So it's it's easy for them to just say like, oh, just relax a little bit. I'll just take some time off. Like put your feet up. Like do this and that and the other thing. And I've tried girly pop. I've tried pretty much everything, and saying that is much easier than doing it. I'm We're not like you in the fact that if we just take a couple hours to just chill, maybe take a nap, put our feet in a little bath or something, and I don't know, have like a glass of wine, everything is going to be restarted and fixed. Like that's not how these things work for us. Like there is basically nothing that can fix this. It's just you have to wait it out. Time is the only thing
Yeah. Wait it out. That's the
that
best way to say it. Literally, like you do. You have to literally wait it out. There's nothing you can do. Um,
yeah, it there's just time is the only thing that can make these things better for us. And even with the passage of time, a lot of the times it doesn't get that much better. So that's why they call that a chronic illness.
yeah.
You're going to be suffering with it for a long time or even the rest of your life, which is the case with me and the arthritis and the fibromyalgia. And yeah, so that's everything that I've been going through. So it just so happens that Sarah also has a lot of things in her life and with her body that also make just living difficult a lot of
Yeah.
the time. And in our case, a lot of those flare ups and a lot of those instances happen at the same exact time.
Which
And a
is
lot of
so
them,
crazy.
right, right. And a lot of them were when we decided, hey, let's record a podcast episode. Or I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe it was just our bodies way of saying like, hey, maybe y'all should like chill out for a little
Y'all need
bit.
to take it easy. Yeah.
Maybe you should just like focus on you and your health for a while
Yeah.
and just not do another extra thing. So I've said my big piece on what's been going on with me. Sarah, what's been going on with you?
So, for anybody out there that does not know, the month of May is Lyme Disease Awareness Month, and myself, I have been a sufferer of chronic Lyme for my son will be 4 in September, so almost 4 years. When I was a kid, I got bit by a tick in my ear. They found it in my ear in kindergarten. And back then, I mean, Lyme still is an epidemic and like huge controversy, but back then it wasn't a thing. Like doctors around here just didn't acknowledge it, wouldn't test for it. And so I was 6 years old, get bit with a tick in my ear, go to the ER, they pull it out. A week later, I developed Bell's palsy in the left side of my face. All the nerves die, right? So I, for 6 weeks, smiled like this, and I could only blink with this side. My mom was my tears, and I had to wear an eye patch. I ended up getting pulled out of kindergarten for a little while, and they had figured out that they, thought it was Lyme disease. They treated it, but again, back then, treatment also wasn't what it is now. And so years and years pass, right? And Mariah knows I have had, we joke that like literally my family, it's a running joke that we should write a book like in mystery diagnoses and just have it be about all of the crap that I've had happen to my health, because it's been my whole life. Gallbladder removed at 9. It was twice the size of an adult male's and stuck to my liver. They found my appendix up by my gallbladder when they took it. Like, there were so many things throughout the years that just started popping up. And back then, they really didn't know why. They didn't know what was causing it. They just kind of thought it was a freak thing. Now, the theory is, like the Lyme doc that I have, her theory is that it's always been there. That I've always had the dormant Lyme, and that's what was causing all these problems. But fast forward now to when I was pregnant, I was about 20, I think I was 20 weeks pregnant, and I had a spot. It was right about here. My bald spot's gone now, but it was right about here. And I just started like I don't even know how to explain it other than I started getting these headaches, and I've suffered with one of the other things that I've dealt with for a long time. I have a brain injury to the left side of my head, and so I suffer with severe migraines. To the point I end up hospitalized. I have 3 emergency medications for them. They get really bad. They mimic the symptoms of a stroke. I'm at risk for a stroke when they happen. And so I started getting these headaches while I was pregnant. It was just kind of bizarre. Well, then all of a sudden, the only way I can describe it is I'd be standing and the ground was still moving. And it came out of nowhere and it wouldn't stop. And I thought I was being dramatic. I said to my husband, this is just pregnancy. I'm just being dramatic. I'm dehydrated. He saved my life through and through, and our babies, because it was one day I was sitting in the living room and he had come in from the kitchen and he was talking to me, actively talking to me for I don't even know how long. And he's like, your mouth was hung open and you were staring at the wall. I was unresponsive and just like I was just sitting there like staring at the wall. And he's like, that's it. You're getting in the car and we're going to the emergency room. So fast forward then, we're in the ER and they asked me, they're like, have you been bit by a tick? And at that point, I'm like, no, like I haven't had a tick on me, whatever. And my husband, thank God, remembered this spot I had asked him about. I was like, can you look at this spot? It was like a week or 2 weeks prior. I said, I think I have a bug bite. And he looked at it and he's like, I don't know, maybe an ingrown hair or maybe it's a spider bite. I don't really know. And I just knew that it hurt. So I always wear normally my hair in my signature messy bun. Like everybody that's seen me knows it's kind of my thing, my messy top bun. The doctor ripped my hair out of this bun and starts rifling through. And sure as baloney, I have a bullseye rash here, and I had another one that wrapped around basically the whole base of my skull, which isn't super common. Normally you just get like a big bullseye rash, but it can kind of present differently in everybody. And so they treated me with a really low dose of amoxicillin because I was pregnant. They can't treat it aggressively, while you're pregnant. And then about 10 weeks later, I developed severe preeclampsia. I went into, it was 3 weeks I fought. They found it at about 33 weeks, and my son was delivered at 36. So, yeah. But anyway, by the time that I ended up being induced, I had gone into beginning organ failure. My liver and my kidneys were shutting down. Water was pooling in my face. They sent me by ambulance up to Duluth. I was up there. They tried to induce me and had a bleeding complication when they put in a balloon catheter, which doesn't normally happen. They rushed me back for emergency C-section, and my son, by the grace of God, was born and didn't need to go to the NICU. They had said with how long he'd been exposed to a magnesium drip. Also, I'm throwing this out there in the off chance some woman is listening and you're told you have preeclampsia and you're about to get a magnesium drip. I'm going to tell you, because no one else will, you're gonna feel like you're dying. It is like the flu times 10, and no one told me that. So I get this drip for 28 hours, and I literally was so like your skin, it feels like it's on fire. It's awful. Well, anyway, because he'd been exposed so long, they assumed he was going to come out not breathing. Again, by the grace of God, the little man, we call him the miracle man, because he came out and took a first breath on his own, and the NICU team was like, I don't know how, but he doesn't need to come with us. And so, fast forward, 18 hours later, that's an important detail here, I was sitting holding my son, and all of a sudden, I felt like I peed my pants, and I was like, that was weird. Well, then, all of a sudden, it felt like I had something fall out. And this poor nurse, I still, I can't imagine this poor woman, how she must have felt. It was her second day without a trainer on the floor. And I went, I think I'm bleeding. And she goes, oh, honey, a little bit of blood is normal. And it was like out of a horror movie. She went down and picked up my gown, and I felt another big gush. Her face flushed, and she ran out of the room screaming some code number or color or whatever. And before we knew it, there were 6 nurses and 2 doctors in our room. All they could do was literally pick my rear end up and rip bed chuck after bed chuck after bed chuck out from under me. I passed clots ranging from the size of a clementine to a baseball. They were just huge. It was horrible. And basically they were using Pitocin, trying to stop the bleeding. They didn't know really where it was coming from, because the normal hemorrhaging window is 6 to 12 hours, right? 6 to 12 is normally when they watch for hemorrhaging and normally when it would occur. This was 18 hours later. And so they had basically, they put another port in my other arm and said, if we cannot get this to stop in the next 5 minutes, we're going to have to wheel you back for an emergency hysterectomy. Because at this point, they had no clue where it was coming from. And so, thank God it ended up stopping. Bless my husband's heart. He actually said, I didn't know how bad it was. Even though, and like, it's so silly to say that because, like, you picture this room, right? It was covered in blood. There was blood all over the bed. It was all over the nurses. It was all over the garbage can. Like, it was everywhere. And my husband's like, I didn't know it was bad because all of these doctors and nurses seem so professional. Like, oh, we've got this. No big deal. We got you, Mom. It's okay. And he's like, it was not until a nurse went to hand me Corey, my son, and she was like, here, Mom, why don't you hold baby, to try and distract me because I was crying and begging them. I was pleading for my life. I remember I just kept begging and pleading, don't let me die. Please make it stop. And the nurse had said, you know, here's baby. And he's like, I'll never forget it. You turned your head and you looked that woman dead in the eyes and you said that child does not see his mother die. No. And he's like, then I knew it was bad. You know, knowing you the way I know you, I knew it wasn't good. So now they finally get the bleeding to stop. Fast forward, it was about when my son was like 3 or 4 months old, I started having just off the wall symptoms. Like, I would get bone pain. And when I say bone pain, I mean like the sensation you feel when you smack your funny bone, right? Like that kind of throbbing and like, ow, and it kind of gets your attention, doesn't really go away right away. I was having that radiating into every bone in my, like my arms, my hands, my feet. My joints started making these snapping sounds, like at my knees, and it was just really bizarre. And then the fatigue. So, like, you know, when you're postpartum, like, you're told you're going to be tired, right? The newborn stage is super hard. You're told you're going to be exhausted. I was cripplingly exhausted to the point I would sleep like 16 hours at night. Jake was getting up with the baby, and I could literally sleep the whole night long and then wake up, and I still, like, half hour later, I was like, couldn't keep my eyes open. It felt like they were being pulled down all the time. We went back to the doctor. They told me it's postpartum, you know, just don't worry about it, blah, 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 if things don't get better. Well, fast forward then another month. They hadn't gotten better. They were getting worse. And so my doctor's like, this sounds like it could be Lyme, but it's documented you were treated for Lyme. Important detail there. It said that I was treated for Lyme. And so they did not treat me. He threw me on some Doxy, I think if I remember right, really early on, just to see if it would help. It didn't. And so my doctor, bless his heart, he had said, I don't know what's wrong with you. And it's really bad, and I don't know what it is. So he referred me to a rheumatologist. At this point, because doctor, like, that's the thing too, and I know Mariah can relate to this, but like chronically ill people, you get it. Your journeys are so long because it's not like you can get an appointment tomorrow with a rheumatologist or with any kind of specialist. It's normally a several month waiting period. So you're literally suffering for several months before you go see another specialist, and then you're suffering again. Like, it just, it can sometimes take up to several years to get a diagnosis of any kind. And so, at this point, my hair I started losing all my hair in the spot I'd been bit. Literally, like, looking back, I'm so glad that I videotaped a lot of me talking about what was going on, and took pictures, because you forget when you're this many years out, like, you forget how scary and unsure it was, and it's still scary now, but it's not like that. I remember we went to the rheumatologist, and he's like, I think this is lupus. Does all the tests. It's not lupus. Offers me treatment and says, if this is lupus, you can either take these meds and maybe it'll get better, or you could not, and it might get worse, and lupus can kill you. And so I was backed into a wall. I'm like, okay, well, I guess I'll take these medications. Fast forward, I'm not only not getting better, I'm getting more sick. It got to the point that my husband would have to literally be my legs. I couldn't make my knees and my legs work. At a several points was using chairs as a walker because I was too prideful to admit that I needed a walker. My knees looked like, I mean, literally like small watermelons, both of them. And like the snapping sound that they would make, it was just awful. I mean, like you could hear it from across the room. I couldn't sit comfortably. Every bone in my body hurt, and it felt like literally like my limbs were on fire, like my muscles. And it was awful. Brain fog kicked in. That was super bad. It's so hard too to think back to all the weird symptoms that I had because it like went on for so long that like, you know, it just kind of became like your normal. But like it was just bizarre. There was a ton of really crazy symptoms, but the inflammation markers in my blood work were off the charts all the time. And the rheumatologist, I was 26 years old, and my husband and I were there seeing him again, and he's looking at my blood work, and he goes, I need to be honest with you both. I don't know what's killing you and what's wrong with you. He's like, but with the pattern that your blood markers are on, it might not be a bad idea. I don't want to scare you, but to get your affairs in order until we can figure out what this is, because it's on a fast track to killing you. And I don't know what it is. Your body is attacking itself, and I'm not sure why. And I will never forget my husband. Mind you, at that point, I'm 26 years old. I'm a mom of a baby. I think he was like 1 or 2 at that point. He maybe 1, and I couldn't hold him anymore. I was getting club hands because that's the thing too now, and I'll go into flare symptoms later, but my fingers would swell, like all of them, and they're a little puffed right now, but the base of all of them would turn red and swell. Well, then before I got diagnosed, literally my hands and my fingers, it was all the way up. We would go into the ER sometimes, and I had club hands, and I couldn't use them. The pain was so excruciating. I couldn't bend my fingers. It was horrible. And so at this point, I couldn't even hold my kid. And he, told us it was time to think about getting our affairs in order just in case something happened to me before they figured out what was going on. I got tested for every kind of cancer you can think of, and fun fact, there's a 2-week waiting period for most of those tests.
Of course.
So, being terrified that you don't know what the monster you're up against is for 2 weeks, it was awful. And so, ended up, we went and saw a neurologist, dermatologist, ear, nose, and throat doctor. I was having issues with inflammation in my throat. It was just crazy. It was crazy. Like all the symptoms, like you can't make it up. It was just insane. And so I owe my life to, I owe my life to 4 people specifically. I owe it to my husband, because of what he did with knowing to take me in when he did. I owe it also, though, to my mom and dad, because they were the ones who finally said, we're taking you to a Lyme doctor. I don't care that they said you're cured of it. I don't believe it. We're taking you to a Lyme doctor. So the 4th person then that I owe my life to is Rebecca Keith out of Minong. She runs an independent practice called Keith Family Wellness, and she saved my life. There is no if, and, or but about it. I was on my way out, and it was very clear. I could feel every day my body shutting down. I was so scared. So I met her, and she automatically just treated me for Lyme. She's like, I'm not going to make you pay for a test. At this point, we were tens of thousands of dollars in medical debt already. And she's like, I'm not going to make you pay for it. I'm just going to treat it. If I'm wrong, you won't get better, and at least we know. And so started treatment, which was super, aggressive. She treats very aggressively for Lyme, but you got to. And so with chronic Lyme, it's kind of a double-edged sword because your goal is not being cured, it's remission. Because once it's been in your body long enough, it is next to impossible to completely eradicate it. If you don't know anything about Lyme, look up a spirochete, but basically, if I were to draw it on a piece of paper, it's a little spiral, right? That is microscopic, but swims. And so it will swim through your entire body. It can go to your brain, which is where they think I had Lyme in my brain, which is why I was all of a sudden having these neurological symptoms. It can swim into your joints. It can swim into literally into your spinal fluid. There's a girl with a documentary. It's called The Quiet Epidemic. The girl in that documentary is in a wheelchair. Her and I had identical co-infections for Lyme. And that's the crazy thing is like nobody's looks the same, but hers attacked differently than mine did. And so she starts treating Lyme, and I got better in some ways, but in some ways I got worse. Like all of a sudden I started getting these night terrors out of nowhere. And I mean like vivid to the point that like I was afraid to go to sleep. And I didn't tell anybody about it because like, I don't know, to me it didn't seem like a relevant detail to what I had going on. That was one of the things that got worse. I noticed the fatigue got really bad. The joint swelling got really bad. And I'm so frustrated. I can't even. The fog is real with chronic illness. But Babesia, like, there's a lot of symptoms that are, like, telltale of Babesia. Petechiae, the little red dots you can get on your skin, right? I looked like I had chicken pox. Like, it looked literally like someone took a red marker and was like, all over my body. And that was while I was being treated for Lyme. So I went back in for my Lyme checkup, and I'm going over, these symptoms I'm having. I did not mention the night terrors. I'm talking about the symptoms, and she looks at me and she goes, "How long have you been having the night terrors?" And I just stopped in my tracks. I'm like, "How do you know that?" And she goes, "You have every other telltale sign of Babesia." And at this point, I had never heard of that word, so I'm like, I don't know what that is. And she's like, "I think you have babesiosis from a tick, from the tick you were bit with, and I want to treat for it." You can test for it, but just like Lyme, there's oftentimes false negatives that come. Like, you literally could be sicker than a dog and go get tested for Lyme disease, and it's not perfect testing, and it comes back negative, even though you have Lyme. Which is why it's so crucial to find somebody, too, that'll treat you without necessarily needing to see that positive. And unfortunately, modern medicine with, like, big doctors' offices have to have that positive test before they aggressively treat. And so she's like, "I'm going to treat you for it. I think that's what this is. I'm almost positive because Babesia will kill you." It's an infection in your red blood cells, basically, to give a little education side to it. Causes an infection in your red blood cells, and it travels through your entire body, and it will kill you. It'll just basically over time start to shut organs down. It's like an infection inside that you can't get rid of. And so the reason that was getting worse was because the Lyme was starting to get attacked, and so the Babesia ended up flaring. So there's one medication that they use as a telltale to treat Babesia, and it's called atovaquone. That is its only two purposes in the world are to treat malaria and Babesia. And so here I was, I think I was 27 at that point, 27-year-old mom being told, "You're going to be put on this. It's going to be brutal and it's going to really suck, but this could save your life." And sure shit, sure baloney, she saved my life. She did. I ended up, I herxed super bad, which is a Lyme term. Basically, when you start treatment, it's really common to get crazy ill. Like crazy ill. Like undescribably ill. For 24 to 48, sometimes 72 hours, because your body is herxing. Anytime you end up back on Lyme treatment, it's pretty common to go through a herx because the Lyme bacteria fights back. It doesn't like to be attacked, and so it comes at you like 10 toes in the sand, ready to attack you. And so I went through that, and I think at this point I was on, God, it was upwards of like, I think the most I had to take at once was 32 pills a day. Because it was not just the antibiotics. So you're normally on like 3, sometimes 4 different antibiotics when you're in active treatment, and then you're on all the supplements, because like that's the other side to Lyme too, is like there's the inflammation factor, and so they try to work on naturally getting the inflammation in your body down while attacking the bacteria. And so again, the goal when you have chronic Lyme, when it passes the point of being treated and killed, I think it's within the first 12 hours of you being bit. If you're treated in that time and diagnosed and treated, there is the chance of getting it eradicated. Lots of people get cured, go on to live full lives. But if you're outside of that window, it has already started to either multiply or swim around, and it is much, much harder for them to be able to completely kill it. And so you then go into a chronic state of chronic Lyme, which thank God the CDC, I think it was 3 years ago now, I'm not positive. It was about 3 years ago, they finally acknowledged that chronic Lyme is a thing because there are so many millions of people out there that are suffering still with chronic Lyme, and for so long it was, oh, Lyme disease is not a chronic illness. Yes, it is. And so, yeah, I ended up, I, by the grace of God, was able to get into remission. I now have been a year, almost, yeah, I think I'm about 10 months, almost a year into remission. June actually should be a year. I haven't thought about that in a while, but, yeah, that I've been off of treatment. But with that, there's a lot more now good days than there are bad days. You know you're out of remission when there's more bad than good. When you can't snap out of a flare for an extended period of time is generally a good indicator that you are out of remission, or yeah, that you're out of remission. But thankfully I've been able now to live life in remission, which has been just a godsend, but you still do have bad days. The bad days, they suck, and they are really, really brutal. They're really scary, and they're really hard. Because I had Lyme in my brain, it also altered the chemicals, like chemical balance basically in my brain. And I now have what are called vestibular migraines. So I have regular ones that, like I previously talked about, I end up hospitalized. But I also have what are called vestibular migraines. So in the midst of all of this, while I was on treatment, I started getting these dizzy attacks where literally, like the one time I was in the shower, I saw silver sparkles and I passed out. Ripped the curtain off the rod. Yeah, full fainted. And then another time, I was legitimately just walking through my living room. I was not doing anything impressive. I wasn't doing anything, strenuous. And I was walking, saw the silver sparkles, and passed out. It got so bad to the point that I stopped driving. I was terrified to drive. We didn't know what was causing it. I didn't know what it was. My Lyme doc didn't know what it was. And so I got referred to a neurologist down in Marshfield, who is just a godsend. I started describing these symptoms. He's looking at my brain scan and he's like, I think I know what this is. It affects less than 3% of the United States population, but they're called vestibular migraines, and it can often get misdiagnosed as POTS. But basically what it does is anytime, like in my case, because I had Lyme and I had that spirochete bacteria in my brain at one point, my normal damage to that side of my head and my normal like functioning for a migraine, it shifted it. And so I would get these silver sparkles. It looked like someone threw glitter, like the holographic glitter, in front of my face, and then I would get crazy dizzy and I'd pass out. And then the room would just spin. Like after that, I couldn't get the spinning to stop. I'd cry. They thought at one point it was a stroke. It was so bad. And so he's like, I think this is vestibular migraines. And so he put me on a daily preventative for that. Saved my life. They stopped immediately. And so with vestibular migraines, also a chronic condition, can't cure it and it doesn't really go away. What happens though is they can get it to where it's not happening all the time, and you can then wean off of the daily medication and use it only when an attack happens. And that's the stage that I'm at now. That took almost a year or two of being on the propanolol every day. But I was able now, I'm weaned off to now I only have to take it if there's an attack. But that was super terrifying while it was happening. It was super, super scary. And so, yeah, then fast forward basically with the Lyme disease, I ended up going into remission, which was just such a complete godsend, and started to feel like I was getting my life back. And Mariah knows what's been going on the last week. But fast forward even further, I finally felt like I was out of the woods with health stuff. Like I said, with chronic Lyme, you have more good days than bad. Oftentimes, with a lot of chronic illnesses, it's triggered because you do something crazy. You get a high burst of energy that you haven't felt in a while because you're chronically ill. And for me, I went and painted the front of my house and I was doing my flower bed. And that was enough to throw me into a flare. Before my cycle, I will normally get thrown into a flare. Severe stress, if I'm really stressed out, which is why I actually literally, while we're recording this right now, I literally was before in my bed earlier today because I was flared up and not feeling very good. I woke up not feeling very good, just from the stress of this week, and kind of the news that we had gotten. Those are different things that can trigger flares, and flares can look different. I have sometimes where it's a manageable one, where I'm okay enough to walk, or I have a couple weeks ago for Mother's Day, I was out doing the flower beds and I was staining my brick, and my husband, and he does this every time and he's not wrong, he looked at me and he's like, do you think we're overdoing it? I just don't want you to go into a flare. And when adrenaline's in, I'm like, shut up. Like, no, I'm fine, and I'm like a turd. I'm like, no, it's fine. He carried me to bed that night. Physically carried me to bed because I couldn't make it on my own. And that, I wish I could say that was the first time that's happened. I wish I could say it's also not happened more than twice, but unfortunately that's just part of the name of the beast too. And like when the swelling gets so bad in my knees, it literally feels like they're breaking when I bend them. My hips, if I go to move them, right at the ball joint, it feels like it's broken. And it seems like that's more of that, and then my hands. Oh my God, my hands. The hand pain and like in my arms is really, really bad. And back pain. And so normally then my only option is to, like we said, wait it out. I have to go and lay down, try and take some pain medicine, see if it helps. Normally it doesn't, and wait it out. And eventually it does calm down. Another medicine too that helps, for anybody listening, by the way, if anyone out there is resonating with anything either of us are saying, obviously go and talk to a doctor. But if you think you have Lyme, please, please, please go see a doctor and say, I think I might have Lyme disease. It does not matter if you don't know when you were bit, if you never saw a tick bite, if you never saw a rash, if any of the symptoms, and I can't stress this enough, that I am describing sound like something that resonates with you, please, 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 please go and see a doctor. Preferably a Lyme literate one, because they're going to believe you right off the get-go. But at minimum, go see a doctor, because it can save your life. Lyme can kill you, and it is so sad to me the amount of people out there that because they're gaslit by so many medical professionals, they end up dying due to complications of Lyme. And so Lyme, oftentimes, when you heard me say co-infections earlier, the Babesia I have is a co-infection of my Lyme disease. When you're bit by a tick, it's more common than not. They don't have just one bacteria. They could have Bordetella, Bartonella, Babesiosis, Anaplasmosis, Ehrlichiosis. I'm trying to think of the other ones and I can't. Oftentimes they're carrying something else. And so it is so crucially important to get yourself help, because it will only get worse. And when it's chronic, I'd give anything to go back. I'd give anything to go back, and to remember what life was like before, being in pain like that. Because literally, like, I think that's the hardest part too, is like you forget what your life looked like before. And I know for a fact Mariah can relate to me on this, but I just went through this literally like last week, and my friend that is listening, I know she's gonna know I'm talking about her. And I want to preface with, I mean no ill will with what I'm about to say, but last week was really hard. And sometimes when you're chronically ill, people will say to you, "Oh, I get it. I get migraines too. Oh, I get it. My body hurts too. Oh, I get it. I get sick too." I know that you are trying to empathize with the person that you're talking to. But one of the hardest things about being chronically sick or really sick is that there's not a lot of people out there that really get it. And so it's really hard to have someone look at you and say like, "Oh, I get it. I get headaches." Mine run the risk of killing me. Mine gets so bad I have to go to the ER. I don't have a choice. The bone pain gets so bad I can't put my pants on sometimes. The joint pain gets so bad sometimes I can't bend down to sit on the toilet. Until you've not been able to function like a normal person, it's really hard to understand. And I appreciate where, you know, like people are coming from when they say that, but that's been one of the hardest things for me is, to me, it's the mindset of like, I can't imagine, right? I talked about that other girl that had the same co-infections as me. Right, I can't imagine going up to that girl and being like, oh, I get it. I have Lyme and Babesia too. No, I don't get it. I'm not in a wheelchair, okay? We're not the same. We're not the same. That's not to say that mine is less than hers. It's not to say that my pain isn't valid. It's not to say that my pain's not important. It's to say that it's not the same. And to walk up to somebody that is clearly in a worse situation than you are and say, oh, I get it. I have blah, blah, too. It's not the same. And it is the most tough internal battle I have ever been through, because then you feel guilty for being upset, right? Then you feel guilty that you're mad at them for saying that, and then you feel guilty, but then also you don't tell people how sick you actually are, so how are they supposed to know? You know, the only person that knows how sick I get is my husband. You know, my parents have a pretty good idea, my friends have a pretty good idea, but my husband is the one that sees when I'm hiding it. He's the one that's carrying me. He's the one that has to help me in and out of the shower. He's the one that deals with my meltdowns when I'm in the sorry, woe is me phase, because it gets so sucky. That was the hardest thing I've ever had to do, is tell somebody, like, I love you, but saying that is hurting me, because it's not the same. And it's not to say that yours isn't bad. It is so not to say that, but to walk up to a cancer patient, right? I'm very sick. I would not walk up to someone with leukemia or breast cancer or lymphoma or melanoma and say that I get it, because I don't. I don't. And it's okay not to. It's okay not to understand. You know, that's the other side of the coin. Then I've had people say to me, like, well, how do I talk to you then? Like, what do you want me to say? And I said, honestly, the best thing you can do for me, ask me. If you want to understand, ask me. Ask me about it. Ask me if I'm okay. Ask me, you know, what the pain is like, to try and understand better. Or simply saying, that super sucks. What can I do to be here for you? Is sometimes,
Because we know it super sucks.
we
Like, we
know.
totally get it. If you
We
say
know.
that, absolutely it super sucks. So like, you're not hurting our feelings. You're not telling us something we don't know.
You're not
We
giving
get
us this
it.
like epiphany that all of a sudden then we wake up and we're like, oh my God, it does suck. We know.
Right. You're
um,
not making us feel bad. You're sympathizing with us in the way that you can. In
yeah.
the only basically the only way that is possible, because as Sarah said, it is almost impossible to go up to literally anybody else, if they have a chronic illness or not, and be like, I understand exactly what you're going through. Everybody experiences everything differently, specifically illnesses. So even I to Sarah, I can't be like, "Oh, I completely understand." No, I don't. I have no clue what she's going through, even though she's gone into extensive detail about it even just now. I can't I've never felt that in my body, so I can't understand what she's going through. She's the only person who can understand that, and vice versa. We're not in each other's bodies. We don't understand fully what's going on, but we know that we're here for each other. And that's the best thing that we can do, is just be here, be a listening ear, be a counselor, like offer any sort of help and support that we can, and just know that the other person is going through something.
Absolutely. You know, and I think that's the biggest thing too that is so difficult for people that aren't chronically ill. You know, you get sick once and it's like, oh God, this really sucks, right? A chronically ill person gets sick, I sometimes end up in the hospital, right? Like, your immune system is so shot from fighting all the time. I end up in the hospital. For context, because, and this is why I wanted to do this episode so bad too, is I really wanted the chance for both of us to be so real and honest, because so many people don't. And when you're going through it, then it can be super isolating. You can feel like nobody else understands. It bankrupted me legitimately at 28. I'm going to be 29. At 28 years old, I filed for bankruptcy, medical bankruptcy, because of what it took on what it did to our finances to get a diagnosis. And that wasn't even that's the start of the battle, my friends. Like getting a diagnosis that it feels like the end of the race, it's not. That's the start of a marathon. You ran the first 5K and you made it out, but here's 25, I think we were at $28,000 medical debt, on top of your regular bills and stuff. And that was just before I got diagnosed. And so fast forward then getting diagnosed, that's more medical debt. Excuse me, and medical bills. To get disability is insanely difficult. Oftentimes, a lot of people that are chronically ill, I've had people ask me, like, why don't you just try and get disability? Have you tried? Most of the time you get denied, and then you have to fight it again. There's court fees involved with that, and now you're asking somebody who's literally, like, sunk into medical debt to try and do that. It's super, super challenging, but I think, like, that's been the biggest and hardest thing, has been the emotional side of it. So fast forward now, I feel like I've kind of prefaced up until this week. I want to be brutally honest because I feel like honesty could save somebody else. We're trigger warning for any men listening, or women too, I guess. But we're about to talk about periods, like really talk about periods. Yeah. So fun factoid about me: when I had my C-section, obviously it was an emergency, right? My whole life, I've had heavy periods, but they were regular, right? It was every 4 weeks. It was crazy heavy, but I could wear 2 maxi pads, stuck them front to back so I wouldn't bleed out into my pants, and I did one time in high school. If anybody remembers that from when that happened in creative writing, no you don't, and it didn't, okay? But that happened, and so it was always manageable. Like the pain was pretty bad, but not what it is now. So fast forward to last year. It was actually last June. I was on the depot after the delivery and everything, so I didn't have a cycle. Wasn't really dealing with lady bits pain, and even if I was, I'd have never been focused on it with everything else I had going on. I got off the depot and started having crazy bleeding. And when I say crazy, really the only way to paint a picture is by saying I end up in diapers. That is the only thing I can wear that can not either spill into my clothing or fill up immediately and spill over. It is the only option that I have. I've tried Dixie cups. I've tried Super Plus tampons. I've tried Super Plus tampons with the 2 maxi pads, and it's just gotten so bad. They're constantly.
I would just like to interject really quick.
Yeah.
Because you're talking about the whole diaper thing.
Oh yeah.
Ladies, no matter what's going on with your period or whatever, please do not be ashamed at all to wear any sort of like diaper or adult diaper. I have PCOS. That's another thing on my list. And so with that, just to like do a really quick offshoot. With that, I went through a long period of time where my period was non-existent. I wasn't on any sort of birth control because at the time my husband and I were trying to conceive. And so no birth control, but I wasn't getting my period. And my period would go from, I would get it like once a month like usual, to sometimes then it would go 3 months and I wouldn't get a period, 6 months and I wouldn't get a period. Then it got up to like 9 months and I had not gotten a period. It was so irregular. Yeah, it was so irregular. I didn't know when to be prepared. And then when it came, I was up the river without a paddle, you know? And thankfully, because I got diagnosed with PCOS, I got on medication for that. And so my cycle has regulated now. But just in my family, in my gene pool, periods are very heavy and they're very painful. And like Sarah was saying, I would have to like double up on maxi pads. It started being to where I would have to wear diapers at night because that was the only thing that could control the amount of bleeding that was happening. So please, please don't be embarrassed, ashamed, anything because you need to wear diapers or you need to have more protection than the other person. When it comes to your periods, everybody's periods are different, and we don't need to be ashamed of them. They suck for everybody. Let's just be completely honest.
Yeah.
But yeah, so as another fellow diaper wearer,
Yeah.
I feel you. I got you.
No, and I didn't realize you have PCOS. Like that's just
Yeah.
crazy. Because I literally too, I have another friend of mine, one of my best friends that struggles really bad with PCOS, and it took them 2 years of trying and medications and everything before they were even able to get pregnant with their first pregnancy. Because same thing, like her cycle would just stop, like for months and months and months at a time. And so on the flip side of that, I've been tested, whatever. Literally, they've checked me for PCOS, thinking like, "Oh, we'll go over your symptoms. We don't think it's that." And so this crazy heavy bleeding starts happening, and the pain is excruciating. The only word I can come close to using to describe it is excruciating. And so it got so bad that I, like, the last 30 days, I have bled 3 weeks out of a 4 week month span. And for 3 full weeks. Not back to back, mind you, because that's the other thing about what's been going on. It's a week off, a week off, a week off. And so my doctor, thank God, believed me. I finally had to take a picture of one of the clots that I passed, I think, before she really believed me. Because you say heavy periods, and I feel like so oftentimes medical professionals are like, oh, yeah, okay, heavy period. You'll know a really heavy period. Like, I had heavy periods before. I had no clue. I passed clots now almost the entire duration. They're really big, and it's really gross. And so I took a photo of one that I passed, and it actually woke me up. I woke up at 2 in the morning. I'm like, oh no. I could feel it when I went to roll over, so I got up and ran to the bathroom and passed a huge clot, sent it to my doctor. She's like, you need to come in tomorrow. And so I went in, and she's like, I can't prove it because your scans, unfortunately, with the testing for endometriosis anyway, the really only way they can prove it is if they go in. And she's like, I can't prove it, but I think you have endometriosis. And I think what happened was you might have had it forever, and it escaped when you had your C-section. And so because I was so chronically ill, it just was something I didn't pay attention to, whatever. I was on the depot forever. Well, then we wanted to conceive, right? So I get off the depot, and all of a sudden these horrible cycles, I mean, just debilitating, to the point, literally, like, there's been so many times, because then too, when you're chronically ill and getting a period, as we talked about, you go into a flare, add a flare, and then add excruciating abdominal back pain to a flare with what we've already described. It's hard to picture, but it is absolutely horrible. I don't talk about it enough because to me, I feel like I'm inconveniencing people with my problems when I talk about how bad it gets. But I feel like because I haven't, there's even people in my life that love me and don't know how bad it is, because I just don't talk about how bad it gets. And so the swelling, I literally have several times looked like I'm completely pregnant due to the bloating. The swelling even goes up into my face and my neck if I'm flared up. Right now I'm a little puffy, but I mean normally it's like, it's super prevalent. Really bad. I get like facial cheek swelling. It's really bad. And so she's like, I need to send you to a specialist. So this last week, we went and met with a specialist on Tuesday up in Duluth. And for the first time in a really long time, I got believed with what I've been having go on. And she looked at me and she's like, this is endometriosis. It's not even I think, I know. But the issue is with endometriosis, they won't know how bad or what stage it's at until they go in. And so my only option is surgery. So that's scheduled for June 23rd. They're going to go in and basically start looking. And mine will be a little different. So normally they do a laparoscopy surgery, right? So they go in, blow you up. It's three, four little incisions, like a gallbladder surgery, similar incisions. And they blow up your abdomen and they look for these lesions, right? They're called endometriomes. Well, there's one I have that it's hard to point at, but it's like right in that area. After my surgery, I kept complaining of severe pain there. I don't have a right ovary. That's in the midst of all of this health stuff. Back in 2018, they found a tumor and removed my ovary. It wasn't a cyst, it was a tumor. And basically, the decision was made, either live with it and hope it doesn't develop cancer, which is super hard to detect, or we remove it. And so I was like, cancer's in my bloodline, take it. They went to take it. They couldn't save my ovary. It was completely taken over with cysts all over the outside of my ovary. So they took it. So this pain was crazy because I don't have anything over there. No one, and I say no one, for medical professionals believed me about that spot. I kept being told that, well, it's a C-section, maybe you're getting phantom pain, blah, blah, blah. They sent me to a specialist. The specialist is like, I think I might have seen something on a scan, but I can't really tell. And we don't just go in looking for stuff. This was now 2 years ago. And so I was basically told, hey, sorry, this really hurts. Nothing we can do about it. And I noticed it would get really bad only like once or twice a month, right around the time I would have been having a cycle, but I was on the depot. And so this lady here is like, that's an endometrium. It's an endometrium lesion, and I'm going to go after it. So basically my surgery will look similar but different to regular ones. I'm going to have an incision above that spot. It could be this big, it could be this big, depending on how big the lesion is that she's got to go in and get. But yeah, so that's scheduled a month out. In the midst of all of this, as if that's not enough, I'm a moly girl, okay, moly girly here. Lots of moles all over my body. I've always had lots of moles. And the last 2 months, I have one on my back that has started itching super bad, itching and burning. And so my husband actually, again, I owe this man my life because he, I swear to God, has saved it so many times. But he's the one who has to itch it because I can't reach it. It's literally like right on my left shoulder blade, kind of at the base of it. And it's this big, flat thing. And so he's like, I think you should just go and get it looked at. Just to be sure it's nothing, right? Probably nothing. Just go get it checked. So I go, and the doctor's like, this has irregular sides. The good news is the color is okay. What we're going to do is we're going to have you use cortisone cream twice a day for a week. If it does not work, let me know. Or if anything new pops up, if anything new around it, if it changes at all. Well, I went on a trip to Missouri to watch my childhood best friend graduate as a dentist, doctor of dentistry. Shout out to you, Courtney. But yeah, she ended up graduating as a dentist. So I drove down to Missouri. I came back, and in that time, that was like a 3-4 day span, the itching obviously never stopped. But I got home, and I said to my husband, I'm like, can you look and just see if it's different or anything? It's really bugging me. And a new spot had popped up about 4 inches below it that looks like a really hard, like rock hard blood blister. But it's hard. Like the puppy, she's there. She ain't going nowhere. And the mole itself looks like it's gotten bigger. And so I reached out to my doctor right away, and I got the call. So we found out about surgery Tuesday. I got the call Wednesday morning that they are concerned it could be melanoma. And basically with melanoma, they are super proactive about it because it's a form of skin cancer that can spread. And so I have a biopsy then scheduled for not this coming week, the following week, because out of 3 providers, that was the quickest that they could get a biopsy scheduled for it. And so basically, I just go in, they cut out a little chunk of that one and then the one below it, and they're testing for melanoma, which rationally, you can sit here and say all I want, like it's nothing, they're going to find nothing, yada, yada, yada. But the fact is, like, anytime that C word is thrown at you, I don't care how bionic you are, it is okay to be scared. And it's okay to admit that you're scared, because I feel like for so long I've been expected to be tough, right? Like, even when I tell my story, my health story, like, the amount of people I have that are like, oh my God, like, I don't know how you do it. Like, I literally would be losing my mind. And I feel like it's because you set this unrealistic expectation on yourself to be tough all the time. That it's not a big deal, and you gaslight yourself. If anyone is listening to this, and any of these diagnoses resonate with you, any of them, I want you to know first and foremost that you're not alone, but I also really want you to know that it's okay to be scared. And it's okay to say that you're scared. It's okay. It's okay to not be okay all the time too. It's just this expectation that you be positive, and you show no signs of weakness, and that's just not realistic. It's really scary. And, any people battling chronic Lyme out there, my heart and my soul is with you. It is a terrifying disease. Any chronic illness really is. But I know what it's like to, think that you're not gonna live to see, your kid grow up, or to make it to 30. That at one point for me was a very, very real possibility. And so with this, my goal, and I know Mariah's too, was not only to spread awareness on, some of these issues that both of us firsthand go through, but because it is so effing important to be transparent and to know that you're not alone. And if you're suffering, don't suffer in silence. You don't have to. You don't have to. Whoever told you that's a liar, because you don't have to. And it is far, far easier if you have other people to lean on that get it. And even if they don't fully get it, and to anybody out there then, like I talked about earlier, that is just trying to be there for someone who's suffering, my advice to you would be this: don't feel you have to have all the answers, because that's not what the person needs. It's not. I know that. What we need, oftentimes, is a hug. To be told that it's okay and you're here. You're here. That you're here for us. That it's okay to be scared. And it's okay to be frustrated. It's so okay. It is okay to be angry and resentful and to wish that things were different and to wish for a normal body. All of those things are okay. It is so, so, so okay. What they need is just for you to be there. If you know your friend is in a flare and they're really flared, get them a stuffed animal. Bring them flowers. Bring them a card. Go sit and watch a movie with them. Go cuddle in bed with them. Oftentimes, if I'm flared enough, I can't get out of bed. But just to have someone there that cares, just know that you don't have to understand. But if you want to, ask questions. I'm so transparent about my struggles, because I want more people to know. I want more people to know so that if somebody else ever is going through this, you know what it looks like or can look like. It doesn't look the same in everybody with every chronic illness, but I want you to know that it's okay to not be okay, and I want you to know that there are other people out there. But to caregivers and friends and support systems, just be there. Just be there. Even if they tell you they're okay, we're probably not. This last week, I had a friend of mine ask me, what do you need from me? What can I do for you? And I said, I don't know. And I didn't. It's those times, I've had some time to reflect. It's those times they need a hug. Just show up. They're so used to gaslighting themselves that they're okay. Just show up. Get in the car. Drive over. Be there for them. Just sit there with them. Tell them you love them. That's the other part too. Several times in my life, death's door was right there, man. And I was knocking. It's happened not even once, which is so mind-boggling to say. But I know I would have regretted had I not. I would have regretted not saying I love you more and hearing it. So if someone you know and love is suffering, just tell them you love them. Tell them you love them, and that you can't imagine. And though you can't imagine, help me understand. Sometimes we just want to be heard, and we want someone to actually listen and not feel like they have to fix it. Or not try and come. The amount of times I've had people come at me with like, "Oh, you can cure Lyme with this, this, this." No,
I
you
did a
can't.
Google search. I WebMD'd it.
Yeah, exactly. No, you can't, and that's okay. But I don't need you to try to fix me. I just need you to be there. And so, to our audience, thank you for being patient with us. We anytime you're chronically ill, it's really, really hard. It's
One
hard.
thing, sorry.
No, you're good.
um, One thing that I was just thinking about as you were saying, just everything about like being there for somebody and being like a listening ear for them. Oh, I'm gonna start crying. Oh, get back in there, tears. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, if you get that reference. No, so because I struggle not only with the chronic illness, but also with my mental illness, oftentimes I'm probably gonna end up cutting some of this out.
Okay.
Oftentimes I get scared to talk about it in front of people because the way my brain works, if I talk about my problems, I'm automatically a burden. I don't want to burden you with my problems and having to figure out how to respond to what I'm telling you. Like, so it's really hard. It's really hard to talk to a lot of people about what you're going through. And so I understand that. But what I would like to tell everybody that's listening is you're not a burden. Nothing that you're going through is a burden. There are people who are more than happy to listen to what you're going through, even if they can't empathize or even if they don't know what's going on. There are people, Sarah and I are two of those people, who are more than happy to listen to you without any sort of judgment to anything you want to say, because we have both been in, I'm sure, the same predicament, I guess, where we don't feel like we can talk about what we're going through because all we're thinking is that, oh, this person just thinks that I'm being dramatic,
Or I'm
or
trying to
oh,
get
I'm,
attention.
or I need attention, or I'm
Yeah.
being a burden. I'm being a burden. Like, that's constantly a lot of the time what's going through my head. Like, like one person that I share a lot of my health struggles with is my manager at work, my coworker, who I work with her pretty much every day, 40 hours a week. So we know each other like in and out at this point. Like, we've worked together for 8 years. And there are still times, and she's like one of the nicest people on the planet. And there are still times where I catch myself talking and complaining about what I'm going through, even though she's the one that asked, like, hey, how are you feeling? I'll still catch myself and I'll stop talking and I'll be like, in my brain, I'll be like, God, just shut up. She doesn't care. Like, you're being dramatic. Like, no. And it's really hard with, it's just really hard with everything. Like, so that's all I want to say is you're not a burden, no matter how much your mind tells you that you are. Your mind can fuck off
Yeah.
sometimes. There are a lot of people who, even though they can't understand fully what you're going through, they are more than happy to just be a listening ear. And those people are godsends because it's really hard. And you can, like Sarah was saying earlier, there are people who, with the best intentions, they go, oh my gosh, yeah, I understand. Like, I get really bad pain too. Like, I can be laid up in bed for a day. Like, that's happened to me before. It's like,
I get bad periods too.
yeah, like, I get really bad periods. Like, trust me, girl, I totally understand. Like, I understand that you're saying that with the best of intentions. Like, you're not intending
Hurt that person.
to hurt that person. But a lot of the times it does make us hurt, and it does kind of touch a
Invalidate
nerve.
too. I feel like invalidate like our suffering
Yes, exactly. So it's like you're
unintentionally.
trying. Right, exactly,
Unintentionally
exactly.
invalidates.
every a lot of this is just completely unintentional, and you're at no fault for that. And a lot of it is because you just don't know what to say, and so
Yes.
your brain defaults to the first thing, which is, oh, I understand, because that's what we were taught growing up,
Yes.
is to empathize with the person and say, I understand, which is a polite way to go about these things. And that's, that's okay, that's fine. But also when you're dealing with things like chronic illnesses or the like, that's not the best way to go about it. The best way is to just be like, hey, talk to me. I'm here. I'll, I'll be here for anything that you need. If you need somebody to talk to, if you just want to sit here like on the couch with me, if you don't want to talk and you just need somebody to be here in a physical space with you, if you need somebody to call you at night, if you can't get to sleep because you're in so much pain and you want somebody that way, like that that's more than I can express. Like it feels so good to have somebody
Care.
just be there,
Be there and care.
to be there and care. Like I didn't even know what Sarah was going through this past week. I mean, Sarah, you didn't even know what you were going through this past week up until like what, Tuesday?
Yeah.
um, but there have been a couple times like within the past like week or two where I work at a coffee shop, and so I'm gonna give Sarah a coffee because one of her neighbors comes in and she's like, "Oh hey, I'm gonna go babysit her son." I'm like, "Hey, bring her a coffee for me." Just a little something like that. It doesn't have to be like, you don't have to like go to their house or anything. It could just be a simple like a text, or I don't know, be like, here, like Venmo them $5. Like,
Yep.
hey, get a coffee. Like, it could be literally anything. Just
Anything.
being there and showing them that you care is just everything.
Yeah. Um, yeah. No, and I don't think I could have said it better myself too, with with what you were explaining, about number one, how it feels, but also then to like, there is times where it is so hard to say what I need that I don't know. I don't know what I need. Um, what I do know is I know what means a lot when it happens. I know it means a lot when somebody reaches out. Notice the way too, I want to back up because I feel like chronically ill people often are the ones that know how best to communicate with one another. So anybody listening, when we first started talking, notice when Mariah was talking about her diagnoses, one of the questions I asked was, walk me through what a flare looks like. That's because I don't know, number one, what her flare looks like. Number two, it's my way of trying to understand at all what that might look like for her. Sometimes that's the best thing you can do is just, hey, walk me through what that looks like. What does that look like for you? Show that you want to try and understand. And though maybe you'll never be able to fully, you're trying. Because I stupidly suffer in silence more than I should. And so that's where I had said too about that friend I had that I had to basically cry to and explain that like it was hurting me. She wasn't doing it on purpose, but it was hurting me. It was also my own doing because bless her heart, she doesn't know how bad it gets. I don't tell anyone. I should. I should. Talk to people more. I should also let go of this like preconceived notion that it's not okay to be in pain. Because literally like my husband gets, and I understand why he gets mad, and he does. He gets very frustrated and angry because I won't say that I'm in a flare. I won't say I'm in pain. He'll see me try to go down the staircase and start crying by myself. I don't out loud, tears will fall. And I'm like wincing, trying to get down, and I'm just trying not to draw any attention, and I just got to do this. And he gets really upset, and he's like, why don't you ask for help? And the truth is, I don't know. I don't know. I wish I knew. I wish I knew why. There's this just like preconceived notion that when you're chronically ill, you're a burden, but you're not. You're not. And your suffering is not invalid. I'm going to yell that one more time for the people in the back. Your suffering is completely valid. Your pain is completely valid. It does not burden the life of someone that loves you. And I feel like I'm talking to myself right now because I needed to hear this week, but people that love you. And they just don't want to see you have to suffer. So being honest about suffering doesn't mean that you're disappointing them or letting them down. It's just that they sometimes react the way they do because they don't want to see you have to suffer. And so sometimes the reaction isn't, that, oh my God, you're sick again. It's that they just don't want to see you have to suffer. My best advice is ask questions. Ask questions. I'm happy to answer. I'm happy to, if I'm asked, I'm happy to tell. But it's when I'm not asked and expected to just be honest about how I'm feeling that I really struggle. And that is so, so common for so many people. And like I said, the core at why we wanted to do this and why I wanted to do this wasn't to just go and put Mariah's and my health problems on blast. It was because I know there's someone out there listening to this right now that either, number one, knows somebody and loves somebody that's chronically ill, or maybe you're one of the few in my life that don't know how to handle me being so chronically ill. Maybe you're in Mariah's life and it's the same thing. You're not sure how to navigate those waters. Maybe you're one of those people. Maybe you're someone who's sick and suffering and doesn't know where to start. Um, at any end of whatever spectrum you're at, that's why I wanted to make this and be so honest about it, because I haven't been for the majority of the time I've been ill. That's the truth. I feel like sometimes I lie to also protect my family and my friends from my suffering, because it's easier to not tell them how bad it actually gets than it is to be honest. Um, with the migraines, I have scared the crap out of my husband and my parents several times. It gets to where I can't talk very well. I can't communicate. I get blackout vision. I start vomiting. Normally, I have no clue where I am or what's going on. I had the symptoms that lined up to a minor stroke like 10 years ago, and they were like, because I didn't call an ambulance where I was in my car. I went in after, because they couldn't diagnose me on the spot. All they could say was that it lined up to the symptoms of of a minor stroke. But my migraines can oftentimes mimic a stroke. It's horrifying and terrifying, and I feel like in my mind I'm protecting everybody else. I'm protecting everybody else if I don't tell them how bad it is. They get bad. The periods get bad. My joint pain gets bad. Um, my health scares me a lot. And at 28, that sucks. And I think that's the first time I have admitted any of those things out loud. Even Mariah, like you were saying too, there's a lot of the stuff I'm talking about that, you didn't even necessarily know I was going through. I suck at talking about it. I don't like,
Same.
yeah, you don't like doing it. You feel like you're burdening everybody else. You feel like it's a bother. You feel like whatever. Or you feel like you're making a big deal out of nothing. Because that's the thing too that can oftentimes happen. You get gaslit by medical professionals where they try and convince you it's nothing. If there is any takeaway to be made from this, I guess number one being that, anybody out there that's chronically ill, I want you to know that we're here too. We see you, we hear you, and if you're not, it is okay to not be chronically ill and to not understand. It's so okay. It's okay. I'm not angry at you because you can't relate. If anything, I'm so grateful that there's people out there that can't. Because I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. And I know you relate to that sentence. I wouldn't. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. And you can't escape it. And that part sucks. It's really scary and it sucks. Um, it's okay to not understand what that's like. And it's okay to love somebody that does. Shout out to our partners. I can imagine how Nate's been for you based on how Jake's been for me. In sickness and in health, that becomes a pretty big fucking vow when
Yeah.
you're chronically ill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah. Um, so I know that we have taken up a ton of your time. I know this episode is carried on super long, but I told Mariah it just was on my heart that it was time. It was time. Even when I was on the radio, there were several times I felt compelled to talk about it. Back then, I was just diagnosed with chronic Lyme, and I felt compelled to say something because it was an audience big enough that it would have the potential to make a difference, and still I would chicken out. Um, Mariah, I am so proud of you. I am so proud of you for having the strength to talk about it, for being honest and vulnerable and talking about it. Um, and I am so sorry that you have to go through what you do. I'd give anything to take it away. I can't. And I'm so sorry that you have to go through that. And I'm sorry that I haven't been a better support system. I'm super guilty of that. I'm so guilty of that. I'm so sorry.
Man, why'd you have to do that? Oh. No, and right back at you. Like, I'm so sorry for everything that you've been going through. I can't pretend to know what it's like, but I just want you to know that I'm here for you, and I understand that this is incredibly, incredibly hard. And I'll be here for you whenever you need, whatever you need. I'm so, so proud that you're talking about this and putting it out there, and I'm proud of how far you've come and everything that you've achieved despite what you've been going through and all of the shitty, shitty cards that you've been dealt. Because there have been so many just for the both of us. So I'm so, so proud of how far you've come, and I'm proud of us for maintaining and just still being here. I'm proud of us.
I am too.
We're doing the best we can day by day.
Thank you so much. And same, in the regard that I'm here for you too, even when I suck at not being here better. And I need to work on that myself. But anybody listening, there's an example of how you talk to somebody that's chronically sick. And it's okay to not have all the answers. And I want it made known too, we didn't do this for pity or sympathy, because I feel like that's often a stigma too. When chronically ill people start talking, the conversation becomes about like, oh, well, you're just trying to get, sympathy. There's a reason a lot of us don't talk more, and it's because we don't want that. To me, I don't. Saying to me it sucks, I don't view that as sympathy. But when it looks like, somebody's saying to me like, oh my God, Sarah, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, it's not what I'm after. And I want you to know that. I appreciate hearing it when you say it. But by sharing my story and our stories, this was not a call for like, feel sorry for us.
Like you don't understand. It took an incredible amount for us to push our pride aside
to do this.
to talk about this to a audience like this. It took an incredible amount to just be like, okay, just shut up and do it.
You need to do it. You have to do it. You need to do it for other people. That is so true. Because literally, too, for weeks, it kept nagging at me. Whatever everybody's faith is, I want to be respectful to everybody. But for me, I believe in the big guy upstairs, and I literally it was loud as heck the other day in my ear. It's time because I knew because I've suffered in silence for so long, and I know Mariah has too. And it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to be sick. It's okay.
Absolutely.
It sucks. It's terrible. But it's okay to admit that you're sick. And yeah, thank you by the way, to anybody that's made it even this far. If it took you all one listen, or if you came back and finished it out listening, thank you. My only goal and hope from this is that, either if you're suffering yourself, you're not alone. And if someone suffering, maybe now you gain some knowledge on how to talk to them, how to react, how to help. Because they want that. Believe me, they want that. I am one of the most stubborn chronically ill people you'll meet. I swear to God. I will ride that pony till the end of being stubborn and not asking for help as opposed to just asking. And thank God I have the husband I do, who literally will pick me up as I am trying to crawl to my bedroom. and carry me there. Because sometimes it's in me that I have to do it. I have to be okay. I have to not talk about it. Believe me when I say, even the most stubborn of us, we still want you to be there. We do. We want you to care. We want you to be there for us. We want you to see us and see, even when we can't talk about it, like that we're suffering, and just to want to be there for support. Even the toughest of us need support.
Even if we're too bullheaded or too prideful to say, "Hey, I'd like some support." This is just us saying like we could still use the support. Even just like a bro, I heard the podcast. That fucking sucks.
Yeah,
Even that, I'm just like, dude, thank you.
yeah,
It does.
yeah. Because I think this is the first time, and I know for myself, and maybe for you too, like, this is the first time I've ever gone as in depth as I did, about my symptoms and stuff I deal with. And there's a lot of it I didn't even scratch the surface on.
Same.
Yeah. But this is the first time that I've been as open as I have about like the symptoms and stuff that I deal with. So yeah, to anybody listening, feel free to, because I have had, by the way, I was going to mention this to you earlier, I have had several people come up and be like, love the podcast, I've been listening to it. Shout out to, by the way, we need to shout out to my friend Michaela Falstad. I swear to God, she is our #1 fan. I don't think she's missed an episode. Yeah, she has listened to all of them and like listens on Spotify while she's driving. But like there have been people that have come up to me and been like, hey, I listened to your podcast, that's so cool. If you're listening to this one, it's okay to not have all the answers on how to communicate with us, but let us know that you heard it and, that you're there. That's the best thing that you can do. And again, thank you from the bottom of my heart to everybody that has taken the time to listen to this, whether you're returned and, got sidetracked and you had to come and finish it or whatever. Thank you. And share this. If you know somebody, too, that you think has anything we've talked about, share this.
Absolutely.
That's one of the biggest things with chronic illness is it sometimes can take years before people are diagnosed. With Lyme is a thing. Chronic Lyme is a thing, and if my story can help save the life of even one person, by golly, I can sleep tonight knowing that I helped. Share this up the wazoo if there's anyone that's struggling, or if maybe too you've got someone ill in your life and you're like, my other friends, I should share this with them, so they also know how we should talk to so-and-so. Do that, and any questions, by the way, too, I want to just add that disclaimer. Any questions anyone has about anything we have talked about, whether it be about our illnesses, about our diagnoses, about our symptoms, or even about how to, talk to people that are chronically ill, please, please, please either message us or drop a comment, message our Facebook page. It doesn't matter. We would love to hear from you, and we would love to educate. I don't have all the answers, but I can tell you from firsthand experience what my experience has been like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. Yeah, now that we've gone through that, there is one lingering question. What is the upload schedule going to look like from here on out? That's a big, I don't know. Clearly with the next couple months, there's probably not going to be an upload, or there may be an upload or two. I haven't even talked to Sarah about this yet, but my husband has expressed interest in being a guest on the podcast. Yeah, or a guest host. So while Sarah's in recovery, I thought if I was feeling well enough or okay enough to do one with my husband, we could have a guest host or two. One of my friends, Maya, has also expressed some interest. So while Sarah's in recovery and everything with that, we could not saying this is going to happen for sure, but there may be some podcast episodes down the pipeline where we have a couple guest hosts, or maybe another solo cast or something, or we could just not upload at all. It's really all up in the air. as at this point. But again, yes, I just want to thank everyone who has been a loyal listener up to this point, or even if you're a new listener, like this is your very first one. Like, thank you so much for just taking the time to listen to these two weirdos talk about any and everything, and especially in this episode, thank you just for listening to us talk about our struggles. Again, like Sarah said, we're not doing this for pity. We're just doing this mainly to explain to everyone why we've been so absent and to just get it out there,
Yeah.
raise awareness. Yeah, just thank you to everybody, our Girl What audience, and to all of our support systems, my husband Nate, Sarah's husband Jake, our families. We couldn't do it without them, truly. Like, they're our rocks, for sure.
And off of the upload schedule too, clearly both of our health lives are very unpredictable. Um, there's good days and there's bad. It's easy for us to say, like, oh, once a week we'll do this. Look at the last several. You know, she's flared. I'm flared. She's sick. I'm sick. And so I think let this be a platform where it's a pleasant surprise when you get to see us.
Yeah.
You know, and just follow and subscribe is the best thing you can do, because then you won't miss when an episode does drop. You know, you get the notification that it's on. That's one of the best things that you can do. Otherwise, too, if you're missing us, message us, shoot a message. And you know what, by golly, even if we're flared up, we can try and muster up strength and see if we can pull it off. And I was going to say, too, actually, while I'm in recovery, I have 2 weeks where I'm going to be in active recovery after surgery. And I might go a little stir crazy because I can't work for 2 weeks. So I think at some point, too, we'll have to log on and maybe talk about even like what it's looked like post-surgery and kind of what that surgery looks like. Because that was one thing that's helped me, I think, ease my mind a lot, is the amount of TikTokers that actually, like, God bless you women with endometriosis that have taken to TikTok and been like, here's what you need post laparoscopy, or here's what to expect. Yeah, and so the future for Girl What I see as super great one. We're here for the long haul, and I love that it could look different, but we just ask for your patience. We're not like other podcasters. We're
No.
cool.
We're cool podcasters.
We're cool and
So yeah, for the next month or two, or maybe a little bit longer than that, there's not going to be a set upload schedule. So yeah, just have a little bit of patience, and as Sarah said, just treat every upload as just a little welcome surprise. You know, we're just dropping a little present there on your doorstep. Hopefully maybe in the future there will be more of a set schedule, but again, that's all up in the air. And it's yep. That's all I can say. So we're going super long, but you know what? That's okay. This is our first upload in like a month. So but thank you again to all of our Girl What fam. It was nice to talk to you guys again after a while and share what has been going on in our lives. So I think we're going to sign off for the night. I hope everybody has a great day, a great week, great month. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Sarah, any parting thoughts?
We love you, and we'll see you when we see you.
Bye-bye.